So, Mel, can you explain how substandard data management practices can impact technical resources and ultimately lead to wasted time and effort?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, if you think about it, say you're a manufacturing company, the work of what's often a small cadre of engineers and designers becomes the sort of original information that's used by everyone else, what we sort of consider downstream. So the people who procure all the parts, the people who actually do the manufacturing, do shop floor scheduling and layout, etc. If that original corpus of data is either not correct or not communicated well to the other potential consumers of that information, people wind up buying the wrong stuff, making the wrong things, making them incorrectly, forgetting to do things. So I'll give you a story. It's actually true, even though it sounds like something you would make up. We had a customer who they did cast iron parts for the food processing industry, and one of them was like an auger that it's a big long metal shaft with a rotating screw at the end that pushes food into a tube, right? A big one.
Hmm.
They accidentally in their processes they didn't send the correct version of the file for the cast to the people who would actually make it. When the part came back from an outsourced forge, it didn't fit. And this is a fairly expensive part, and the time surrounded sending it out and getting it back and all that was non-trivial, and it couldn't be machined into the right size. It actually needed to be bigger, not smaller. So essentially, the CEO of that company, who had rejected his engineer's request to automate some of that information exchange, to remind himself that he should listen to his engineer's request to keep track of their CAD data, took that, made it the anchor for his sailboat. So that every time he was dead in the water, he would remind himself that it was because of this literal boat anchor that they made out of a mistaken outsourced procurement. So,
Oh man, good story.
yeah, I would have made that up if it wasn't true, but it turns out it is true.
So that's funny. Mel, research suggests that companies can lose up to 20% of their technical resources time on non-productive data management tasks. So how does Cool Orange tailor solutions for Autodesk Vault customers to help address that issue?
Yeah, that's a great point. So if you think about the tasks of say your classic design engineer, most of the real brain work goes into doing an actual design. So they've got a part they're supposed to design. They spend time in 3D CAD and then maybe in simulation and modeling to get it right. But then there's a chunk of work usually at the end around communicating those designs to people. And that can mean things like exporting different file formats, saving a bunch of drawings as PDFs and naming them correctly and putting them in the right shared folder, and then emailing someone and telling them it's there and whatever. All that work, honestly, should be automated, for two reasons. One is the chances of making a mistake if you have to manually do sort of 20, 30 steps after your sort of real brain work is done when you're now bored with it. The chances of screwing that up is pretty high, right? Even if you're really good and you're sort of a detail-oriented design engineer sort.
Yeah.
And then it's simply a waste of time, right? If it's the kind of thing that you can automate, you should automate it. And so that actually our sort of bread and butter tool set are a set of utilities for automating repetitive processes on top of the systems that manage this data. So you have your data in an engineering repository. In our case, it's usually an Autodesk Vault, which is, you can think of it as source code control for CAD files. Well, when you have that all in there, then it's easy enough to access that information to run automations. So those manual steps, we write some scripts out that take the list of steps that you would have to do manually, do them for you automatically when you say it's the right time. So in the end, you should automate anything that you can. And if you have powerful tools for letting you automate things, then usually people will, because nobody really wants to do those kinds of like repetitive tasks